Okay. Thank you, Karen. And being 7 o'clock, I think we'll call the meeting to order for this evening's October the 25th already. So call the meeting to order and welcome everyone here for our meeting tonight. And with that said, we'll move right to the adoption of the agenda. So I have a recommendation here that the agenda for the October 25th, 2021 regular meeting of council be accepted and passed. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to disclosure of pecuniary interest. I have none to declare on anything on tonight's agenda. Sherry?
No.
Dan?
No.
Lisa?
No.
Steve?
I have none.
Okay, thank you. So the next item we have on our agenda is the county council update. Karen, have you got Campbell?
He's in as a participant, but his camera isn't on yet and he's muted.
Okay.
There we go. And he's right side up tonight.
So welcome, Campbell. We're looking forward to your county council update tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and your rapt attention is most appreciated. And I gotta say, I got a big list here of 5 topics, but trust me, we're gonna just rock and roll through them. And they're so interesting, you're just gonna be on the edge of your chair anyway. These are items that have been passed by committee this month, but they won't be finalized until county council this Thursday, but I expect they will be. The first one is has to do with barn swallows, which since 1970 have lost 80% of their population, and they're now on the threatened species list. But Solid Waste Services has determined that the county should explore low-cost measures to support the barn swallows. And they're knowing what I guess we all know is that one of the major factors in the loss of the barn swallow is the demolition of old wooden barns and the building of closed steel buildings. In any case, it's along the lines of what Solid Waste Services has done with establishing pollinator habitat to support bees and other pollinating insects in a number of landfill sites. So that's our heartwarming story. The next one is we're heading into a program that's going to see the viability of green bins for commercial, industrial, and multi-res buildings who are not part of the green bin program the way it stands right now. One of the just added bonuses of this is that it can redirect edible food to food rescue agencies for whatever purpose they can make of them. So organizations can participate in this pilot project at no cost for the first 3 months. And depending on additional funding, the free period could go on longer. So the launch date is November the 1st. And the collection service, they're going to test, the test area is along Highway 6 between Arthur and Guelph. The third project is living snow fences. And this is program partners with local corn crop landowners to create living snow fences using about 8 to 12 rows of corn along county road networks. So to qualify, a landowner must have property along county roads, of course, and are willing to leave up over the winter the dozen rows of corn. And the county will pay in compensation to the landowner the value of the corn that's left up plus 50%. And alternately, landowners can agree to have a row of evergreen trees planted along the highway to act as a snow fence. And to finish up with two of the very serious topics that the county is embarking on. One is and they're both to do with paramedics, and the goal of both of these programs is to try to help people in need and in distress, but at the same time, try to cut back on the amount of service that the paramedics offers. And you'll see how this works. The first one has to do with palliative patients. And it allows the paramedics to offer medications that are not usually available at the scene of a call. And this is, again, a trial program. So patients at the end of their life, they're not necessarily taken to hospital or to hospice care. They're given the choice, but they are given the choice. And I think that's the key to this. They are able to stay at home, possibly if they want to. And participants in this program must be registered with the palliative team. So just anybody can't call up. The services the paramedics offer at the scene include new and different medical directives for treating pain, shortness of breath, delirium, and nausea and vomiting. Paramedics are provided with additional education designed to allow them to provide better support for patients and their families in what is, as you can imagine, a very difficult set of circumstances. And so the program will involve surveys at the end to see if, in fact, this that's being offered by the paramedics is truly helpful to their needs. And this trial will continue through March of next year, and it'll be reevaluated at that time with the possibility of it becoming permanent. And they're expecting that the county paramedics will be dealing with 20 to 30 patients a year, palliative patients. And the way, as I was mentioning before, that it will work is that it's expected that the program will in fact require extra time from paramedics when they're at the scene of the home assisting a patient, but that additional time is expected to be offset or more than offset by a decrease in patient transport times to hospitals or other care centers, and reduce the number of patients being transported to hospital emergency departments. And finally, a homeless prevention program, and it's again being delivered by paramedic service to residents of county-owned senior and social housing buildings. And it will help households that are in crisis, where the situation could be leading to them being evicted from their homes. So the paramedic is able to provide on-the-spot intensive support to these households related to mental illness and or addiction, and to families who are experiencing housing instability that could be leading to eviction. The paramedics can offer information on care and resources. And it's hoped, once again, as with the other one, that it'll reduce the dependency on 911 and the number of transports to hospital emergency departments. And there are plans, this is now are going to be operating in Guelph, but there's plans to expand the program to Fergus, Mount Forest, and Harriston. So that's my big five for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Campbell. Any questions for Campbell this evening? Okay, looks like you're getting off the hook quickly, Campbell.
I must have just done a great job. What can I say?
You did, thank you. All right. Again, thank you very much, Campbell, and appreciate you taking the time to come and do this.
My pleasure.
Okay, so our next item we have is to recess to move into a public meeting. So I have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North recess the October 25th, 2021 regular meeting of council for the purpose of holding a public meeting under the Planning Act. This is for Blue Grotto Global Investments Inc., a minor variance. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Lisa. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So let me switch my paperwork here. So I'll call the Committee of Adjustment meeting for October 25th to order, and we'll go around the table again, asking for any pecuniary interest in regard to this application A13/21 Blue Grotto Investments. I have none to declare. Steve? Okay, Lisa?
No.
Sherry?
No.
Dan?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
So
sorry,
we'll-
Mayor Lennox, just for the meeting purposes, Councilor McCabe was on mute and he said no, he had no pecuniary interest.
That's right,
Okay,
sorry, none.
Okay, thank you. So first item on our Committee of Adjustment agenda is the minutes from the previous meeting. So recommendation here that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes of October 12th, 2021, A13/21 be adopted as presented. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Dan. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So our application for tonight's meeting is Blue Grotto Global Investments Inc. Location of the subject property is described as Survey Carroll Lot 1 and is municipally known as 137 Smith Street in Arthur. The property is approximately 0.1 hectares in size. Purpose and effect of the application is to permit a portion of the accessory residential use, to permit a portion of the accessory residential use in the side of the main commercial use and permit an area greater than 49% of the ground floor area to be residential use. The applicants are proposing to add 2 additional residential units to the main floor of the existing commercial residential use. Other variances may be considered where deemed appropriate. How was notice given for this public meeting?
Notices for the first public meeting were mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property, as well as to applicable agencies. Signage was posted on the property on September 21st, 2021. And notice for the second public meeting, which is tonight's meeting, were mailed on October 15, 2021.
Great, thank you. Do we have Matthew with us this evening? Hey, there you are, Matthew. Welcome.
Good evening. Is it, am I up here?
You are.
Perfect. So thank you, and through you, Chair. So before you today is a minor variance application to provide relief from section 16.3C of the zoning bylaw, which states that accessory residential units located on the ground floor area of a commercial building shall not occupy more than 49% of the ground floor area. So the committee may recall this application at the previous October 12th meeting, where the application was deferred to find an alternative floor plan which aligned closer to the zoning bylaw as it pertains to having a residential use in the front portion of the building and decreasing the percentage of residential ground floor area. So planning staff have been in discussion with the applicant's agent and found an alternative floor plan seen on figure 2 of the planning report. And with the new changes, there is no longer relief required for the residential portion for the residential use in the front portion of the main floor. And the residential ground floor area has decreased from the first meeting at 72% to now at 57%. So with that said, planning staff have no concerns with the application as the request is minor, meets the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. And I welcome any questions.
Great, thank you, Matthew. Has any further correspondence been received with respect to this application?
No, there has not.
Okay, thank you. Any persons wishing to be notified of the decision must submit a written request to the Secretary Treasurer. Do we have anyone registered to speak tonight's meeting?
Mr. Vanderwoord, who's representing the applicant, but there's no one else has.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Vanderwoord, did you want to speak to this at this point?
I don't think I need to add anything. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, John. With that, I will open the floor for any questions or comments from committee members. Anybody have questions or comments?
I've done, but it's nice to see that you guys were able to work together and get this figured out. So good on you, and it looks good.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I would also echo Councillor McCabe's comments that it's glad we were able to find a resolution that's acceptable, and I look forward to the next steps in this process. So if there's nothing further, I'll just call we'll just do it with a show of hands. That's a minor variance applied for in application 813/21 for the property described as Survey Carroll Lot 1, geographic town of Arthur, with a civic address of 137 Smith Street, to provide the following relief. Number one, that a 57% residential use ground floor area be permitted, whereas the bylaw permits 49% residential use ground floor area. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So that's approved. And next, the only other thing we have to do is adjourn this meeting. So the recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment meeting of October 25th, 2021 be adjourned. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Lisa, seconded by Sherry. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're adjourned from the Committee of Adjustment meeting. We'll move back to our council meeting agenda. And I have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North resume the October 25th, 2021 regular meeting of council at 7:18 p.m. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Dan. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So next we have adoption of the minutes of the council and public meeting. In this case, just the council meeting. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on October 12th, 2021 be adopted as circulated. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Lisa, seconded by Dan. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Business arising from the previous meetings of council. You'll notice that there's 3 separate pieces of correspondence there with regard to our notice of motion from the last meeting. And so the recommendation reads as follows: that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the correspondence sent by the Township of Wellington North and John Nader, MP, Perth Wellington, regarding proposed 45-meter self-support tower at 7239 Fifth Line. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Lisa. Any discussion on that? Karen, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just, when we write the minutes, I'm going to amend the resolution slightly so it refers to the dates of these letters, so that it's an easier way to track them if we need to go back. So it will say that received the correspondence sent by the township dated October 14th, and the same with the correspondence with John Nader. I'll insert those dates of the letters.
Okay, thank you. Did we have any discussion, questions, comments? Steve, go ahead.
I think you and I received and then you forwarded the letter that we got from Explornet. So I think they're going to look for a more suitable location. So I think that's fantastic news for for the York Soaring Club and all the residents that are around there to avoid any possible future accidents or incidents. So nice to see that this their quick response to our letter to them and notice of motion.
Okay,
It was
thanks.
great to have. It was great to have John Nader involved as well.
For sure. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're all on to items for consideration. So we'll go through those and pull out any that you'd like to have some discussion on. Steve, go ahead.
I'd like to have a look at, excuse me, 5A.
5A, okay.
Yeah,
The
efficiency.
municipal modernization.
Yep.
Sorry, did I cut you off?
Oh, no, I was just repeating it. Yeah.
Okay. Any others, Steve?
I had some written down, but anyone else can jump in here too.
Okay. Anybody else have ones they'd like to pull out for discussion? Lisa, go ahead.
1D,
Okay. Cultural roundtable.
yes.
Okay. Anybody have any others?
Oh, 6B. Sorry, that's what I was looking for. Sorry.
6B, the Legion one, correspondence. Okay. Anybody have any others? Okay, not seeing too many takers. So just a recap. We have pulled for discussion 1D, cultural roundtable, 5A, the municipal modernization, and 6B, the correspondence from the Legion. Okay. If there are no others, then I have a recommendation to deal with all the others here. And it reads that all items listed under items for consideration on the October 25th, 2021 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendations therein be adopted. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve. Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll go back to 1D. This is with regard to the cultural roundtable. We have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the minutes of the Wellington North Cultural Roundtable Committee meeting held on October 14th, 2021. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Lisa, seconded by Sherry. Thank you. And we'll open the floor for any questions or comments. Lisa, go ahead.
The only reason I pulled it was to talk a little bit more about the cultural plan update. It said there were lots of comments received from the committee, and that's kind of taking it a little lightly, actually. The committee's very involved in the cultural plan update that we've been working on with MDB Insight. There were probably 5 or 6 pages of comments from this committee. So hopefully council will see it late this year or early 2022. But actually one of the things that was surprising within it was not the lack of mention of the Lions blacksmith shop, but it was a lot farther down the scale than I think we would have liked to see. So anyways, that's the purpose of a committee. So they have provided quite a bit of comments.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I would just add that I'm looking forward to hearing what the result is from all the efforts that have gone into this. So can't wait. Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll call the motion then. All of those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll now move to 5A. This is the CAO report, Municipal Modernization. And I'll read the recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report CAO 2021-007, being a report on the municipal modernization projects, and further that the Council of the Township of Wellington North endorse utilizing municipal modernization funds to proceed with all identified projects. Bylaw property standards enforcement shared service arrangement, fiber install in Kenilworth, fiber optic, I'm sure that is, hybrid vehicles plus charging station in Kenilworth, key fobs for entry, maintenance manager software, work order system software from Citywide, Mount Forest Sports Complex Greeting Welcome Center workstation or stations, radio dash cam for operations fleet, records management software, security cameras at township facilities, and service delivery review. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that recommendation, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Lisa. And with that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Go ahead, Steve.
Just a quick question. I don't know if it's for Mike or Adam. And this is great. I think what's in the report and the recommendations are much needed and fully supported. I was just wondering, the current estimated balance, is that what we have left over from the 618? Am I reading that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry,
So
Mayor
then-
Lennox.
So then,
Okay.
so then what is the, and maybe I didn't read it, or, so what's the difference between the, we have the 406, $780.51, and then the cost for everything that is on this list? What's the difference? I might have missed that, sorry.
Again, through you, Mayor Lennox. Yeah, the intent, Councilor McCabe, is the balance. The recommendations would basically utilize the balance of that 406.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good information in there and a lot of really good projects. However, I would, if I could get the support of the rest of council, I'd like to just receive this as information for now, and include some of these projects and the dollars into the budget discussions that we're going to be having later today or later in November and December. I think some of these projects that are listed on here are a little bit premature to pass, as we're going to discuss some of these later on.
Okay. I guess for the purposes of discussion, do you want to identify those things that or you just want to treat them all the same, Sherry? I guess I'm just trying to drill down a little bit to understand better.
Number one, if I understand it correctly, we're going to talk about that later on tonight, and we're going to pass it in this recommendation. Unless I'm not understanding it.
Okay. I think the discussion in our closed session was more specific than the recommendation, but Mike may be able to address that.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lennox. the report itself and the modernization funds, obviously, yeah, the primary reason for the report from the committee is to identify projects that we can work towards. The secondary reason for the report is that the province has indicated that there may be additional funds coming out related to modernization funds. So Councillor Burke, one of the things that they've indicated is that unless you have allocated the initial funds from 2019, you're not eligible for future intakes of the modernization. So that's part of the thinking, is that this report would satisfy that requirement by allocating these funds. I don't certainly there's a recommendation here and there's the intent to move forward with these projects, but I want to be clear with council, all of you, we're going to make efforts around these. The timelines are quite open-ended and things may change as it relates to priorities, but we'll bring those back to council. But part of the reason of bringing the report forward is to allocate the dollars so that we might be eligible for additional modernization funds from the province. If that helps to clarify a little bit, maybe not.
Go ahead, Sherry.
So if we go ahead and we pass this recommendation, and then we further decide that some of these items are not items that we're going to move forward with, can we use those funds for something else then?
Correct. But again, I would go back, the intent of township staff is to move forward with these projects. So if there are items on here that council doesn't support, absolutely now is the time to have that conversation. And again, Councillor Burke, if the rest of council just wants to receive it for information, to provide more feedback in terms of what projects they're not supportive of, that's certainly the prerogative.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have anything further with you want to discuss with that, Sherry?
Well, I just think I just think that number one, and I'd like to have more information on the sports complex. The sports complex, greeting welcome center, workstation, and I also question about the hybrid vehicles. Is that going to be tied to our transportation plan moving forward? I just don't think that there's enough information on some of these projects that are listed in here for me.
Okay. So, Mike, I'm just kind of thinking on the fly here. Is there a way that we could allocate these dollars to these projects for now and revisit some of these? Allocating these dollars doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be ready to move ahead immediately. I guess I'm just looking for a way to satisfy the allocation requirement and still have some further discussion about some of these items that, like the ones Sherry has identified.
Yeah, I think council can ask staff to provide more information on particular projects if that's a follow-up out of this for sure. Or again, yeah, just receiving it for information is certainly well within council's rights as well. I'm not trying to force the issue. The allocation piece is important, but there may not be additional dollars that come forward, so it may be a moot point. So I don't want to certainly, yeah, council needs to be comfortable if we're going to move forward with these things. So if that's not the case, then we provide either more information or we update the list to reflect the projects that council is supportive of.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll just go around the table and see if any other questions or comments, and then maybe we'll come back to that. Karen, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just, we're having a lot of lag and feedback, and I'm wondering if it's coming from, like, if you're not speaking, if you could shut your microphone off and see if that helps. I don't know if everybody else can hear that, but
I can.
yeah. So if you're not speaking, if you can shut your microphone off, and we can see if that will help.
Okay. Thanks,
Like
Karen.
me right now. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll open the floor for discussion on. With Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the projects. I think there's certainly a number of things that need to get done and kind of move us forward here. The hybrid vehicles and charging stations, we've got a proposed timeline of 2022, 2023, but in the notes section, it's a long-term commitment. So I guess I am supportive of that idea and that concept, but I'm not too sure. We're looking at a short timeline, but then we're also saying a long-term commitment. So I guess that's where I would kind of lean towards Councillor Burke's idea of maybe getting some more information. I certainly will support the projects, but I think we do need to have a more thorough notes section in regards to some of this stuff.
Okay, Mike?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, maybe specifically to that one, Councillor Yake, is the idea of the $100,000 is kind of getting our foot in the door. But if we're going to make the overall change amongst our fleets to electric, that's the long-term commitment, that we're not going to just do a couple. It would be a longer-term commitment that we would be actually, all of our pickup fleets would then become electrified, but that's the long-term commitment piece. So yeah, I understand your how that could be viewed confusingly. So I apologize for that, but that's the intent around that one in particular.
If I may,
Go ahead, Dan.
And if that's the case, that's fine. I'm appreciative and supportive of that. But again, I think we need to have more discussion or more information on these some of these projects. I'm supportive of this, what's listed out here tonight, but I think moving forward in the next little while, I think we should have a more in-depth kind of discussion or proposal or whatever you want to call it brought forward to explain exactly what we're doing.
Steve?
Yeah, just a quick comment, just looking at some of the dates here. Are we tying the hands of future council to these? If we approve it now, say the next council comes in and they're just like, what the hell is this? Like, we're not doing any of this. Is there a consideration to that at all? I don't know who that's for, but just a comment.
Well, I think many decisions we make do have potential carryover effect. So I'm not, Is there a specific one that you're concerned about, Steve? I guess when I'm looking at this, I think there's value in us, agreeing to allocate these funds, but I also recognize there's, desire for more information. So I'm thinking there may be some projects if council is amenable to that, I would say go ahead and approve this, but then ask, give direction to staff to ask for more information on some of these projects before they proceed.
And I'm fine with that, Andy. I was just more curious with some of the big ticket items that go into past 2022 and into 23 and into 2024. That was all. I think it's a great step looking ahead, and you got to start somewhere. So no, I was just curious about can we go ahead and do this kind of stuff 4 years or 3 years out, I guess, and not bind future council, but just a question.
Okay. Lisa, did you have any comments at this point?
Pretty much the same. I do have, I guess, questions about the hybrid vehicles, but I mean, I don't want it to jeopardize the funding. So I'd like to have a little bit more information come back to us regarding that. But I'm fine to go forward.
Okay. So I guess based on what I'm hearing, I'm thinking what I would recommend that we do is is go ahead and accept this recommendation, but ask staff for further information on, the bylaw property standards enforcement, shared service arrangement, the hybrid vehicles charging station in Kenilworth, and the Mount Forest Sports Complex Greeting Welcome Center workstations. Is council, is that an acceptable way forward, Sherry, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that some more information, and if we're going to do the hybrid vehicle charging station in Kenilworth, it needs to be linked to our transportation plan and a real commitment moving forward to change those vehicles over.
Right.
So yes, I'm okay with it as long as we get more information on those projects.
Okay. Everybody else, maybe I'll ask, does anybody object to that approach? Okay. So I believe we have a mover and a seconder already. So what I'm suggesting is we approve this recommendation as it's written, but again, have direction to staff, particularly on those 3 items identified, which I believe Karen has already captured. Okay. So with that, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 6B now. This is the correspondence from the Mount Forest Legion. And the recommendation reads as follows: that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the correspondence dated October 14th, 2021 from the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 134, Mount Forest, request for permission to distribute poppies and proclaim November 11th, 2021 as Remembrance Day. And further, that the Council of the Township of Wellington North declare November 11th as Remembrance Day and grant permission to the Royal Canadian Legions, Arthur and Mount Forest for the distribution of poppies within the Township of Wellington North. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Dan. And with that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Steve, go ahead.
I just always like bringing this up and make it public again. There's always awesome, and they always ask for this, and I think it's very important that we deal with it publicly as well. But also this year is the 100th anniversary of the poppy as well. So that's a huge milestone for the Legion and for the poppies. And I wanted to get that into the minutes, and that the public will, all the public that read our minutes and watch the videos after we're done, hear that it's the 100th anniversary as well. Just wanted to shed some light on that.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I think we're all very happy to support this process and every year when Remembrance Day comes. I understand that Remembrance Day again this year will not include a parade, but will include the services at the cenotaph. So Councillor McCabe and I will be representing the township as usual at those events. So hope that you all can take the time to remember on November the 11th. With that, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I think that's the end of our items for consideration. So that'll move us to any notice of motion this evening. Anyone have a notice of motion this evening?
I do not.
Okay, not seeing any takers. So we'll move on to community group meeting program report. Anybody have anything they'd like to report on in regard to that? Steve, go ahead.
Just a really quick one. I'm going to be meeting with one of the Lions members tomorrow and some of the Optimists tomorrow as well at the pavilion. Socially distancing, of course, and all protocols in play, just to have a chat about the area, I guess, kind of east of the pavilion with regards to the horseshoe pits and the volleyball pits and potential for the Arthur BMX skateboard park. And that's all I've got.
We'll be all wishing for good weather for you, Steve.
Thank you.
Pretty ugly out there today.
Might have to wear a toque.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to report on today? Lisa, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Steve, for doing that. Secondly, Arthur BIA, we had a meeting last week and went through quite a bit of material, you know, specifically a lot of it about the upgrades happening in Arthur, etc. Lots of good stuff. And as you know, I think I reported probably at our last meeting that Jacqueline, the administrator for the Arthur Chamber, is moved on to bigger and better things, or almost, not quite yet. There has been some discussion between the Arthur Chamber and the Arthur BIA, and it looks like that they will likely be hiring for a joint position between the two. So it will hopefully help alleviate some communication difficulties between the two of them that have been happening, if we can find the right person. So maybe if the right person's listening, get in touch with us.
Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we had a PIA meeting last week and they're getting ready for their AGM. Just wanted to bring something forward that maybe the rest of council or staff may know somebody. Unfortunately, the fellow that was helping out the BIA downtown core with cleanup is no longer available to do that for next year and hasn't been able to do much of it this year. So if you know somebody that wants a small job to help clean up the downtown core, I would suggest that if you have a name, maybe pass it on to me or the president, Andrew Coburn, or chair of the BIA. And the BIA also got some really good news. I don't want to spoil it for them because they will announce it at their AGM. But the Bank of Montreal Parquet, they are going to be receiving some money from the bank to help make those improvements there as well. So some really good news and a lot of great things going on with the BIA. They also have the Main Street Haunt this Saturday from 2 till 5, I think it is. So if you've got some kiddos that want to come down trick-or-treating, I think they've got some great events planned for that. And that's the downtown core, which is an umbrella committee of the BIA.
Okay. Anybody have anything else they'd like to report on? Okay, I just have a couple of items I want to mention. One, last week I was invited to the 35th anniversary of the Saugeen Economic Development Group, and they had Ashley Whedon. You may remember her from one of our previous economic development meetings, did a presentation for us and talking about the future of rural economic development, and it's very interesting. And there was a lot of people across the Saugeen Economic Development geography in attendance, and it's clear that that group, in cooperation with our local communities, has had a big impact. And just as a personal interest note, one of our former staff members, their daughter was the guest speaker with regard to the student startup program. That's April's daughter, was there to share her story. I'll give her a plug for her dog biscuits. So I think they're called Golden Treats, if I have the name right, something like that. And I'm sure she'd be happy to sell you some dog treats if you need some. So it's kind of fun to hear stories like that, and it was a very enjoyable few hours spent talking about things like that. Also, would just want to mention both the Arthur Chamber of Commerce is going to have their annual general meeting. I participated with a little video clip for that. That's the first time I've tried to do that sort of thing, and I'm pretty rusty at it, but maybe someday I'll get to be as good as my kids at it. But that's their annual general meeting is coming up, along with their community awards this week. And I also participated in a a video recording of the Mount Forest Chamber issuing of their community awards as well late last week. So I think that's going to be, they're posting it, I believe, on Instagram and Facebook, the video of that. So if you're interested, and some very worthwhile community recipients in both. I don't have the date 100% for sure yet, but I believe November 12th is the date the Mount Forest Chamber is looking at for their annual Christmas tree lighting. So stay tuned for that. That may be coming up. And I'm not sure what's happening exactly with Christmas parades, but you know, our calendar tends to fill up about this time of year. So if you folks have the information on that, that'd be great to get it punched into our calendars. Lisa, do you have that sort of stuff?
I did see the other day, and I made a mental note that the Arthur one is November the 27th.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all the ones I have for tonight. Anybody have anything else they'd like to share? Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, just remember, just a quick plug for the rec committee meeting that's on November 2nd. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Anybody have any others? Okay. So I guess that moves us to our closed meeting session. So we have a recommendation here that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North go into a meeting at, 7:52 p.m. that is closed to the public under subsection 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001, specifically for item E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And item K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Lisa. All those in favor? That's carried. So we are in closed. We'll just make sure Karen has a minute to deal with the administrative tasks associated with our Zoom call.